Happy Wednesday, everybody. This is Brian Tarian here from the Disability Digest. Thanks for joining. See some familiar faces. Teresa, Brian, Warren, Katie. Welcome. So for today's event, I'm excited to go through and help you understand what you need to prove. And this will be applicable for those of you that are going through the approval process, and also for those of you that are already approved when you get your, especially when you get your continuing disability review. But in my opinion, it's important to be prepared in advance, know what you need to do now, take the steps now so that if you have your review, you're well prepared, right? Then at the end, we're going to take some questions that you might have. I see that there's some up there about living abroad and others. So that's what we have on tap for today. I also, in getting started today, something that I wanted to ask the group out there, if anybody has experienced COVID, has caught COVID and has limitations from it. And I'm curious what those limitations might be. Is it memory? Is it breathing? Is it just plain fatigue? If you could put a few comments in there, that would be helpful as well. Also, is anybody new here? Anybody a first timer here at our live event? I would also like to know that. I'm going to put this in the chat as a question. Okay, so before we get started, welcome everybody. This is our live event. We do this typically once a week. We have different topics, sometimes guest speakers, and these are big picture ideas that we share with you. And all of the ideas are focused around really three things: helping you understand how to get your disability benefits approved, how to keep them, and how to maximize your disability benefits. So today's event covers both sides of getting approved and keeping your benefits. All right. So the reason why I'm covering this is one of the common questions that we get is, do I qualify, or what do I need to do to qualify? And the understanding that people have about getting their Social Security disability benefits and keeping their Social Security disability benefits is not consistent, in my opinion, with what it needs to be. So I've been doing this for 17 years. There's 191,000 people here. I've interviewed over 1,000 experts on the topics of disability approval, back to work, members that are out there. So that's all of my experience. I'm going to put in about 12 minutes for you, and then we're going to take some questions, right? So that's what's going on here today. So these are fun. I thank you guys for coming out and taking some time out of your day or morning or wherever you are out there, and spending some time with us. So first of all, what you need to prove, and I'm going to share my screen here with you. And I'm going to start with what Social Security has for a definition of disability. And this is what you need to meet. What you need to prove is that you qualify to meet our definition of disability, which is that you may not be able to engage in any substantial gainful activity. Of course, they can't use a simple term that we all know, because of a medically determinable physical or mental impairment that is either expected to result in death or has lasted longer than 12 months. So that's their definition. And the definition of disabled or disability, in my opinion, is kind of harsh. I typically, if somebody's approved, I like to refer to them as a disability recipient. I feel that disabled is like you're not able to do anything. And there's many people that are just not able to work, but they can do other things in life. So That's just my take on it. So you need to meet this definition of disability. And so there's conditions component to it for sure. But I'm going to stay on this SGA thing for a moment and what that is. Now, SGA, the substantial gainful activity, applies to you going through the disability approval process and for those of you that are already approved. And it's this. If you're engaging in some activity, like you have a traditional job and you're working at the teddy bear factory here in Vermont, and you're going in there 15 hours a week, and you're standing, and when a bear comes down the belt, you pick it up, you put it in a box, you close the box. That's SGA, there's gainful activity that you're involved in. And so that's what they're considering work-related activity. Now, it could also be hours, and maybe you're not earning over the allowed amount to get your benefits or to keep your benefits, but the hours that you are putting in exceed that, which is 20 hours, right? So that is the SGA in which people have to really adhere to. So now, ultimately, what you need to prove is that you are not able to do really any type of work out there in the US economy. That's the high level for all of it. So I want to pause there for a minute and just give you my take before anybody is out there going through the approval process or approaching any aspect of a continuing disability review. In my experience, mindset is an enormous component to this. And the reason why is if you've been working and coming to terms with the fact that you're not able to work, that's super difficult for many people because they like what they do. And it's their identity and it's their livelihood. And so that part of it is difficult. But the second part where there's challenges is how this process is approached. People don't approach it like it's a business transaction, which in my opinion it is. The average benefit package is worth $447,000 over the lifetime that you receive it. And I mean, there's a lot of value in this between the income that you get and the insurance that you get. And what amazes me is we teach you everything that you need to know to go through the process to do it on your own, and you can do it and absorb it. But just simply getting forms that need to be filled out on time and filled out accurately, consistent with the directions. And it's just the approach is not in line with what it needs to be, and it causes people to get denied. So you can have the right mindset to prove whatever you need to prove, but you can know what you need to prove, but if you don't have the right mindset and execute it properly, it's going to be a problem. All right. So we talked about the SGA and what you need to prove that you cannot work. And I'm going to jump over to this regulation from Social Security. If you're going through the approval process, they allow you to earn up to $1,470 and still apply for your disability benefits. If you're approved, it's a different figure. I'll get onto that in a moment. But this doesn't mean you can necessarily get approved if you are earning any money, in my experience, because even if you're earning just $300 or $400 a month, it could potentially be disruptive to your approval, because it opens the argument for Social Security to say, hey, you know, if you had better accommodations or a different job, or your medication was different, or you went to pain management, more than once a week, you could work. It just gives them a reason to open up an argument to deny you. So you have to be careful about working, even though it says you can, going through the approval process. All right. Thanks for those that are joining us. We're going to finish up in this phase of what you need to prove. And then we'll be taking some questions in a few moments. So for those of you that are approved, this 1470 does not apply to you. This is a different regulation. Of course, they don't keep it simple, but it's $1,050. And we've covered that in other videos, but it's $1,050 a month that you need to stay under, so that you're safe and you can keep your benefits every month. Okay, so here's the thing with what you need to prove as far as a job is concerned. Now, if you're going through the approval process, all of this is definitely relevant. If you have a continuing disability review or potentially could get one, you're going to be back into the same proving that you are not able to do, if you're under 50, any job. If you're over 50, certain types of work. Okay, and I'm going to elaborate on that in a moment. So what's up on the screen right now is an article that was in the Boston Globe. A similar one's been in the Washington Post, and it's about what people consider a flaw in the system that is denying claims for Social Security. And it's simply this. If you're under 50, you need to prove that you cannot do any type of work, right? And that could be a common job that you may know of, like somebody who's at Walmart up in the front, like a greeter, or if you go to the movies, somebody that takes your ticket, or if you see somebody in a parking lot, you know, attendant, those types of jobs. Even though you didn't, or maybe didn't do that type of work before, you need to prove that you cannot do that. So when you go through the approval process, or if you get denied in a CDR and you have to go back to court, you're subject to proving jobs in the US economy that you cannot do. Now, when your case could potentially or likely go to court, especially if you don't get it approved at the initial application, then where the real challenge comes in that this article has focused on is that they're using a list of jobs, they meaning Social Security, from 1977. And I'm just going to cut down to an excerpt here. The gentleman profiled in this article, his last name was Hurd. He was stunned when he heard that the vocational expert, which is a Social Security alleged expert opinionating on jobs that are available in the US economy that Hurd could do, said that he could be a dowel inspector, an egg processor, or a nut sorter. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't know anything about any of those jobs or if they even exist, but that's the list. This guy got denied. So that's what you're up against. So I'm going to recap here is that you need to prove if you're under 50 that you cannot do any type of work. If you're over 50, then it could be that you, depending on your work history, if you had the same career in the same industry, like you worked administrative work for your entire career, or you drove a truck over the road your entire career, or a nurse, then the premise of your case could be focused on the fact that you cannot do that type of specific work, right? And so think about it this way: if you're a disability recipient and you're going through, you have a CDR, maybe you were approved in your 40s and now you're going into your 50s and you're getting a review and you run into problems and your case goes back to court, then something like that could apply to you if your work history was solid. So there's a few things for you. Now, another factor to consider into this is that, you know, there are people that may have good days and they could work. But to prove that you qualify or to keep your benefits, you need to prove that you can work full time. And if you miss 2 or 3 days, Jam had a power outage, so she says hi to everybody and she's going to try to join us. So hi, Jam. So if you have 2 or 3 days that you cannot work a month, that's one thing. But if your condition keeps you down for like 10 days a month, there really isn't any job you can do. So what you'll learn from the work that we do here at the Disability Digest is how to prove that you cannot work. And ultimately, what it comes down to is, you know, people go and ask their doctor, their brother-in-law, their mother, and they ask all these people if they qualify. But in my experience, the best thing to do is just look yourself in the mirror and say, man, can I work days a week, 40 hours a week? I mean, can I do it? So, and if you can't, then that's what the disability benefit system is for. So hopefully you find that helpful in understanding what you need to prove. And here at the Disability Digest, if you have joined us or haven't joined us yet, where we can help with this, perfect timing, Jim, we're just about ready for you.
Hi, guy.
What we can help you with is when you join us as a member, you complete a profile. There's no charge for the membership. But we can get you information that will help you understand like where you're at based on your age and your work history and your condition and what you're going to need to do to prove that you qualify. And we do that with a disability approval course that you have access to. There's no charge for the course as well. And it's put together with industry experts like Attorney John Ginsburg, Attorney Carl Osterhow, ex-Social Security employees, lots of contributors, members that have gone through the process and used it. So that is there for you to help you understand what to say and do, how to fill out the forms, how to start your application, how to get doctor support, what to do when you go to an exam. And some people don't want to do that or do it all on their own. So there's an option to get it done for you if you'd like here at the Disability Digest. So that's how we can help you. So tell me about your power jam. Everything all right?
Yeah, all good.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Great. Well, glad to have you with us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some questions. So you ready to get in the hot seat and fire off some questions, Jim?
Yeah.
All right.
Here's one's from Glenda. I have had COVID 2 times. I have respiratory issues with shortness of breath and asthma. Like symptoms, I also have issues with fatigue. I
Okay.
had a stroke in 2019 and it has increased those issues.
Okay. I'm curious if it increased the respiratory issues and other, if they were,
Yeah,
if
shortness of
they,
breath.
if they were pre-existing. I'd be curious about that. Thanks for sharing that. That's really helpful. Okay.
Larissa, how much proof do you need? For example, if my doctor has reported my mobile limitations due to fibromyalgia and ordered DME, wheelchair, etc., is that enough proof?
I don't know if there is such thing as enough proof. Having proof is one thing for sure. But it really depends on your medical records, how well your doctor has communicated your limitations in those. But what I would say to lock that up is if it's fibromyalgia related, there's two tips that I have for you. One is there's a specific tender point test that Social Security has and recognizes to determine the severity of fibromyalgia. So I'd make sure that if you've had the test done, it meets the specification, or if you haven't had it done by a rheumatologist, to have it done. And as part, we have access to it here at the Disability Digest, so you can contact us and we'll help you out with that. Second is to lock in your evidence is to have your doctor complete doctor support forms. They're called residual functional capacity report forms. They're lesson 2 in our disability approval course. Doctor fills them out, confirms that you're treated, what the opinion is on your limitations. But most importantly, the doctor will provide an opinion on how many days a month that she believes you would not be able to work. So those are 2 tips for you.
Right. This one's from Ellen. Been told Social Security will switch me over automatically. I have turned 65, but will be 66 in April. I have handicap tag till 2024. If I am switched, will I still be able to renew tag?
I don't know about renewing tags. I believe that's influenced by a doctor. I'm not familiar with that, but what I can share with you is that when you reach full retirement age, is that your check amount will stay the same, but you're no longer considered like a disability recipient. You're fully retired. So that means the earning restrictions that you have, like the $1,050 a month, goes away. And what's the other thing? Oh, the continuing disability reviews. You would no longer be subject to that.
All right, this one's from Susan. Soothing. I want to trade stocks, NASDAQ and SP 500 on SSD. Can I have over 1050 per month from trading?
You have to adhere to the income. Well, you don't have to, but my suggestion is you need to adhere to the $1,050. If you're trading, you'd be doing that independently. So that would be your net after expenses. And if that's all done in your name and you exceed that, then you have to understand the consequences, right? You'd be over the limit.
All right. I held executive level roles in the corporate world. Now that I want to go back to work, do I need to take any job regardless of my skill level? I'm 64. This is from Warren. Hi, Warren.
Hey, Warren, I was in stereo. Good timing. So do you have to take any job? No, you can do whatever you'd like for work. Yeah.
All right.
I'm curious why you asked that. If you had more on that, maybe I'm missing it.
This one's from, let me see. Barb, question: after 2 years and 8 months, I was approved. My review is scheduled in 1 year. Is this normal to be so soon? My disability is low vision.
Yeah, no, it's not normal. Usually I see like 3 to 5 years. So yeah, but that's all right. Actually, we've done some work with attorney James Brown, who's like an industry icon. And he helped us with our continuing disability review, but he does this thing where he goes to court and he asks the judge to have the individual reviewed in 1 year, even if they have doesn't matter what the severity is. And most often they do that. It's just he has a strategy that it increases the likelihood of the award getting approved, and if it's going to be reviewed in a year. So I wouldn't be concerned about it. Just follow the information that we went through today and other information to make sure that you stay in pay status.
Right. This is from Larissa. I'm under 50. I'm in my initial application stage. Radiculopathy, fibromyalgia, depression, anxiety. Doctors documented limitations such as limited mobility, need for wheelchair. How much more proof do you need? Haven't worked since 2017.
This is going to be the same question. It's tough for me from the information that's been provided to know if you've got enough to get approved. It's just, I don't know if there is any such thing as enough. I've unfortunately had people like John Green in Long Island who had stage 4 terminal cancer, all in his records. He came to us for help and passed away before they made a decision on his case. So I just encourage everybody to top shelf it and follow all the steps. If there's more evidence that you can put in, put it in. Don't leave it out. Make sure all your conditions are diagnosed and treated. And you follow, like in section 2, there's different types of evidence that you can put in our approval course, so that you don't know. I mean, it really doesn't take that much time, and it's worth it. If you can get approved at the initial application and avoid those later steps of reconsideration and going to a hearing, you just get paid quicker, and you're not going to be subject to some judge, trying to figure out if you could be a nut sorter.
All right. This was from Karen. How does renewal process work? I was asked, approved initially due to TBI.
Renewal, not sure. When you say renewal, like
I guess
social
that's
security benefits are like you're in until you have a CDR and you get, if you don't pass it, then you're out. So if you could provide more information of what you mean by a renewal, that would be helpful.
right. Regarding Ticket to Work program, trying to find a good employment agency. Can you help with that?
If you haven't done so, I would definitely listen to last week's live event with Kathy and Mike, because going directly to find a ticket holder program is not the suggested first step. So I would definitely do that. You can just look under, look 1 week ago from today and go by date. And then Kathy and Mike will be back here. They're very experienced in doing this. So once you get a benefit planner in place, I would work with them to drive the process and helping you find an employment network to work with, right?
All right. Okay, here's one.
Ooh.
That's stuck. What is the CDR long form and short form?
What's, like, what are they?
Yeah.
Like simply two different forms. And, I guess Jam is smiling, I believe, because people wonder why why some people get some form and why other people get the long form. And I don't know. I mean, there's some theories out there, but even Attorney Brown, when we did the CDR piece on him and we went through it, he didn't have a solid answer as to why. But the long form simply is much more in-depth. They're asking for more information. The short form is like, I think probably do it in 10 minutes or less to fill it out. And for those of you that are CDR concerned or going through one, here at the Disability Digest, two different ways that we can help you. If you just want to search the YouTube channel for the keywords letters CDR, you'll find 4 segments of 10 segments that we did in an interview with attorney James Mitchell Brown. For those of you that are members or choose to join us as a member, and don't have the CDR course or would like it, then you have access to everything that we did in the interview with Attorney Brown, including legal assistance, which will help you understand how to prepare, what to do when you get the forms, short and long, when you send them back, what to expect, what happens if you get denied and what the next steps are. The whole thing is there, all 10 segments. So that's how we can help you.
Okay, this one's from Moonchi. I'm a nurse, 41 years, last job call center, sit down stationary job, which wreaked havoc on body with back surgery, bad hips, neuropathy causing severe pain, made impossible to sit, stand, and walk, got denied.
Now, 41 years old or 41 years as a nurse. Could that be possible? I guess you could be a nurse for 41 years.
Yeah, not clear either.
So if you're denied in your 41 years of age, then that connects with what I went through before and what you need to prove. You need to prove that you're not able to do any job. Even the nut sorter, the greeter at Walmart, ticket taker at a movie theater. So if you're over 50 and you got denied, then I don't know who did your case or how that was. There's just what information was in there, what your medical records look like. There's a lot of variables. We'd love to help you out. If you want to join us or you have joined us, reach out to your advocate here and see what we can do to help you.
Right, follow up from Glenn
Oh, you're muted. Something happened with your audio.
Hello? Can you hear
Hello?
me? Okay. Sorry. All right. Glenda, follow up with long COVID. No, not pre-existing for respiratory issues or fatigue.
Okay, so COVID created those. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, this one's from John. I had 3 strokes, which the brain bleed affects my left side. My doctor told me that my first appointment, she doesn't believe I'll be able to work ever. Said it's a miracle I can't even walk. What say you?
What say me?
Yeah,
Like are we asking you about like approval?
probably.
Um, I mean, strokes are interesting because Social Security looks at what the prognosis is. And if the prognosis is, for example, no mobility at all on the left-hand side ever, then that's one thing. But oftentimes doctors either don't put that in or stroke victims recover. And so it's a delicate situation. It's kind of like some variations of cancer. You can get it treated and you can move on. You can go to PT for a stroke and get better. So it depends on the medical records and what was in there. Would be one key thing.
All right. Um, I have MS. My condition only stays the same or gets worse. I still have to prove that I'm disabled. Promo
Is that a statement or a question?
statement.
Okay.
Larissa, I had EMG to prove fibro neurologist and primary diagnosis.
Another statement?
Yeah. Okay. I'm a vet with a non-service related disability. I use the VA for treatment. Should I get a primary care provider using the VA? Linda.
It's a really good question. Worked with a lot of veterans and so have others in the industry that I network with, and they're difficult to get approved if they're going to the VA. So I'll answer your question this way. I'm not certain. I don't know everything that's going on with you, but the way VA medical records are, they're not documented like civilian medical records. So that causes one challenge. The second challenge is that the VA, oftentimes you'll see different doctors. So if it's your primary, your primary will be Bob one visit, Jane the next. So the story, they don't understand the story. And you think about it, you've got like a 12-minute office visit commonly anyway. Some say it's less. And now you've got another variable in there. So it wouldn't hurt to get a civilian doctor for your primary to get, consistent documentation, etc.
Yeah. DDS keeps telling me RFC form is only for their doctors, not mine.
RFC forms are third-party evidence. Anybody can support it. I mean, I've not heard that in my years. What I would do with the RFC is print it off, fill it out, and just have it added to your case file. It's no different than other evidence like a video that you add to your case file about mobility limitations, a handicap tag. Yeah.
Hi guys, I filed in early February 2022 and my status has been at step 3, 90%. I reached out to SSD caseworker and left a message for a status check. Was that a good or bad thing to inquire?
I think it's a fine thing to do. I'm curious what state you're in. If you could just
Yeah.
follow up with that. But here's a tip for you and everybody when you're following up. Status check is fine, but you can get a status check online. You're not going to get much information by asking them from a status check. They're going to say, thank you very much, click. My suggestion and what we do here with those that we're managing is we ask them if they have all the evidence that they need. Example being, you have 5 doctors, 5 that way, 5 doctors. And do you have medical records from all 5 of the doctors? And they say, yeah, great, perfect. Is there anything else you need? Any other evidence? Anything else I can provide today? So a decision can be made today on my case. It's been like a year, right? So that's one way. Now, let's say they don't have all of the medical evidence and they say, I mean, listen, we're trying to get medical records from 2 of your doctors and they're just not cooperating. So it depends on your rapport with those doctors. Maybe you can help them get the information. What you don't want to do is push for a decision if all of the evidence is not in the file, because they're not going to see the whole picture and that could likely cause a denial, right?
Yeah, here's a follow-up from Larissa. How can I find the RFC form?
So the RFC forms, when you join us as a member, you get to speak with wonderful advocates like Jam and others who understand your situation. They'll guide you to the course and what a strategy is. In the course, it's lesson 2. You listen to an interview about how to get doctor support, what to do if you can't, get the forms, fill them out, send them in.
All right. Okay. Does the 9 months to go back to work, or does it mean hourly time to go back to work?
We're talking about
Ticket to work, I think.
right. So this is the trial work piece of working. And if you enter into the trial work program, let's say you take a job, you have 9 months where you can, I call it double dipping, 9 months where you can receive all of your disability benefits and as much money as you can make during those 9 months. Once you exceed the 9 months, you're now going into a year, you're now going off of benefits. You get to keep your Medicare, but you're going off of benefits into the working environment. Last week's live went into that in detail. Mike, who not only explained it, he lived it because he was a disability recipient. He went through that process. It'd be time well invested to just go back and listen to that replay for more details on it. And maybe get some tips from what Mike did to get back into the workforce.
Right. On Form 454 for my continuing disability review report on page 3, types of cases, what do those acronyms stand for? My form has DWB highlighted.
I don't know, and I don't remember, but I did the interview with Attorney Brown, and he goes through the short and the long form. So I would, again, if you're a member, just ask for it, contact support at. If you're not, join us and ask for the course and we'll get you that. You can just, there's no charge for your membership. There's no charge for the course. He's the expert, and you just go right through the video. We go through each form and you can get your answer.
All right, this one's from Patrick. If I can receive income from disability pension, would it be considered income against SSDI income?
No, here's why. It's earned income that counts. So like Jam and I are working today. We're engaged in this, we're doing it and getting paid. What you're referring to is an insurance policy that is passive income, unearned income, doesn't require you to work. You could sleep all day and still get it type thing. Just like insurance income, just like rental property income, other income like that.
Classy Ann, I am waiting for hearing date. I will be 62 in October. Can I apply for Social Security in June? Waiting for hearing?
Yeah, sure. Few things to consider. Your age 62 amount is usually like 40% less than your disability amount. So if you take that, the good thing is you've got some cash flow. But you need to understand the risk is this. if you don't get approved for disability, you are stuck with your 62 check amount, which the difference is like $5,000 to $7,000, depending on how high your check is. So that's what you need to keep in mind. Now, let's say everything goes fine. You start collecting your age 62, boom, you go to a hearing, you get approved, then your check amount just gets increased. Everything's fine. But you have to consider the risk. If you got a good case, right, should be fine.
All right, here's one from Robert. Hi, Robert. What are examples of limitations for depression and anxiety? It's hard for me to write it down on paper. Katie answered, can't get out of bed, can't shower, can't cook, etc.
Right, right. There also could be like communication limitations. Maybe you're not as patient as you once were with people. Maybe you're not able to understand, retain, repeat tasks like work-related tasks. Those are other ones. Yep.
Yeah. Here's one from Karen. Was approved and they said I had 3 years still recertification. What is recertification process? Not sure official term.
On the award letters that I have reviewed and been reviewed in these events, there's no recertification. The word is review. Now, if it's review, that I am familiar with seeing is that you're subject to a review as a disability recipient. And at the beginning of this program, I talked about what you need to prove to get approved and what you need to prove once you are approved. And it's when you're approved, you're subject to the review. So that's what they mean. So a little bit more on this. There's Social Security has this integrity program where they allocate large percentage of the Social Security budget. It's like $14.7 million. And a lot of that money now is going towards the integrity program, which is for reviews. And the reason why they're doing the reviews, and so many of them, is because for every dollar they spend, they get 7 back. So if they do X amount of reviews, they know they're going to get Y amount of money back because people are not in their determination, they no longer qualify. Now, one more thing, because I feel it's super important, is that a lot of people fall asleep on what their responsibility is after they get approved. Like they go off and they celebrate and they don't go to their doctor and they're not, doing what they need to do to simply have disability insurance to make sure they can get through a review. So good question. Thanks for asking that. And the other one's about the reviews.
Right. Follow up from Muji. Yes, 41 years as a nurse.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would have to say, I don't know, again, who did your application, how it was done, what was communicated, what evidence was in there, but something didn't go right.
From Natalie, my review is 5 to 7 years. I will be 66 on the 7 years of SSID.
All right.
SSDI. Will I convert over to regular Social Security? Not sure.
Yeah, we just talked about that a moment ago. When you reach full retirement age, you convert over to like full retirement. Your check no longer will say a Social Security disability recipient.
So it's just the status, right?
That's it.
I'll switch. Okay. Teresa Mahoney follow-up. I have recently moved from Florida to South Carolina and I'm looking for work from home job. Do you have any suggestions?
Looking to work from home? Yeah, actually, we have interviewed members, people that work here that are disability recipients, and we put them all in one website that I would encourage you to go in and maybe building a website, YouTube channel, mystery shopping, working at home for other companies, or the ideas that are in there are not for you, but you may get some ideas. Jim, would you be able to put that link
Yeah.
in when we do the next question, if you could put it in chat so that you can, somebody can access it.
Okay. Here's question. My review was approved. How do you find a benefits planner and what is that?
So the details are in last week's event, but the short story is this. You reach out to a benefit planner through your local vocational rehabilitation agency. These are government-funded organizations. And in my opinion, I've heard some feedback from others since last week's event. It's good to have some type of a plan when you contact them and approach them, like what your skill set was, what you're interested in doing, what your hours are, that type of stuff. And they'll assess you, put a plan together. Maybe you want to sharpen some skills up before you go into the job market. They'll help you with that. But that's how you get one. So your local vocational rehabilitation office.
Okay. Here's one from Warren. Howdy to you. I'd like to return to work and I'm in Ticket to Work program. If I turn down offered jobs, does that affect my continued SSDI eligibility? Must I take any job?
So if you turn down a job, will that impact your, if it does, it's not clear how it would. You're just, your disability is impacted by not following the rules. And I don't, from what information you've provided me, unless I'm missing it, Jam, I don't see
Hmm.
any problem with that.
Right. Okay. I think it's continued disability review or something like that. Follow up from Katie.
I don't know. Tell me more.
Hmm.
You're missing it.
Let me see.
There was a question early on about living outside the US. Did you see that one? Early on. I can answer that one while you're looking at the other one. And just a reminder on the top ways people are supplementing their disability income for the chat. If you live outside the US, you can collect your Social Security check. But the challenge becomes Medicare. Medicare is not an option outside of the US. So you need to maintain your ability to be treated so that you can pass a review. And I haven't found, anything if you're living in, like somewhere in Asia, if that medical system is considered to be compliant with the US system. I haven't found anything that would confirm that. But I do know this, let's take Mexico. Let's say you live across the border in Mexico, but you commuted back to the US. Well, you could do that based on you're living outside the country. You could still even come back across the border and get your treatment. I see that as an option.
All right, follow up from COVID. Hi guys, reside in Michigan. Case was transferred to Texas. He applied last year at 90%.
Okay. I'm sorry it was transferred to Texas because they've got the longest wait time for initial application decisions in the US, followed by Florida. So, but maybe there's some local offices that don't have a heavy workload and that's why they're doing it. They should be smart enough to know that they don't want to send it for a longer wait.
Right. This one's from John. I'm lost. Social Security says it takes 6 to 9 months. It's been 16 after seeing Social Security doctors last week. I would think I would hear something, but I guess not.
So if you saw doctors last week, I would estimate within 2 to 3 months, you should receive a decision. Yeah. And folks, listen, if you're going through the process out there, yeah, the expectations Social Security sets is, 5 to 6 months for an initial decision, but the stories that we've heard here of, I don't know what, Jam, one was 16 months, another was 10 months. I mean, it's there's a backlog. There's over 1 million cases in the system right now. And unfortunately, the economy is going to get a little softer, in my opinion, which doesn't help it. So just do the best you can do when you get your application in there, so you don't have to go through that long wait at initial decision, and you can get it approved there, and prevent the reconsideration, waiting for a hearing.
Mm. What if you had compartment syndrome that was caused by hospital malpractice, and after getting a fasciotomy, I now have permanent weakness in my left arm?
So what about it? Meaning, would that qualify? What about it? I
I
expect.
think so.
You think
Mhm.
so? It could. I mean, I'm going to go back to what we covered earlier. What do you need to prove? If you're over 50 and you've been working in a hospital environment, for example, as a nurse or some capacity, and you're not able to do that because of that limitation anymore, that could definitely be the premise of your case. But if you're under 50, could you be that nurse out there for a job, or could you do any other job?
Mhm.
That's the question. And would need to know, of course, to be definitive, which not definitive, I'd say I'm 91% for the people that we work with. Would need to know more to be sure of that, but
Okay. My social security worker called and started I needed a pulmonary function test for last steps before approval on asthma.
okay.
Yet she didn't make appointment, and it's been 2 weeks ago.
All right. That's a statement, and you're gonna
Mhm.
need that. I think they want it called the injection fraction, that they want to see where that's at. That's my hunch. If it's
Mhm.
under 20, it would help your approval, under 30 even.
Okay, this one's from Katie. My doctor told me it was illegal for him to add my limitations to my chart.
Wrong.
Right. Okay, follow up from John. He is in Florida.
Okay.
So yeah, one of the top 5 states,
Yeah.
lowest approval.
Yeah. Back to limitations. If the doctor says that, ask him to provide you with a referral to the laws, regulations that say that you cannot put limitations in medical records. I have not heard of one. Of course, I'm kind of new here. I've only been doing this 17 years. We've been saying the same stuff all along, and it's how we help people get approved. So my hunch is there's something going on there. Oh, one more thing. As a matter of fact, when you fill out residual functional capacity reports, it asks them what the limitations are. And doctors should take those, fill it out, give it to you, and put a copy in your medical records. So there's 2 strikes.
Yeah. I am 21K in debt. Would it kill my disability benefits waiting for work? Sorry, benefits waiting if work full time to pay off debt?
Good question. Depends. But here's one way to look at it. If you are going through the approval process and you're pinched for cash like that, and you've got to make it work, or if you're like, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good this month. I think I'm going to give it a try and go back to work, right? If you do that in my opinion, there's certain times to do that in the application process, but that could actually be beneficial for your case. Here's how why is Social Security wants to see that you're making a concerted effort, like doing the treatment. And if you try to work and you document the limitations and you can pull it off, well, then great. You don't need your disability benefits, and it's better to work than collect. But if you're not able to pull it off, like you're not able to last longer than 3 months, ideally for this situation, then it can be considered a failed work attempt and be beneficial information for your case in some situations. So if you're using a representative, like a disability representative, definitely consult with them about this, as to like when to do that and when not to do it.
Redneck, I have both knees replaced and I have to have second revision. Had a stroke after the last revision. Also have multi-fractured clavicle. How likely am I to be approved?
Yeah. The answer for this is it's not the conditions that you have, first of all. It's going to be the limitations that those conditions put on your body. So your ability to sit, stand, bend, stoop, lift, crawl, all of those. So that's one area that you need to take into consideration. The second area is, what is it that you need to prove? Are you under 50 and you need to prove that you cannot be the nut sorter guy that we've talked about a bunch of times? Or are you over 50 and have you had a career that's been 15 years or more in the same industry that a case can be built that you cannot do that work anymore? So the answer is, based on the information that you provided, I don't know, but those are some of the to figure out like what the probability is.
Okay, I'm not sure if you answered this one from Kathleen. My first review was approved. How do I find a benefits planner and what is that?
I did answer the benefit planners. Contact your
Okay.
rehab agency. Yeah. Yeah. And again, last week's event was fantastic with Mike and Kathy. Encourage you to check it out. Oh, and Jam was there last week too. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Preston, been 2 years since I filed with a lawyer, denied twice, now waiting for a judge. Is that a red flag?
Not necessarily a red flag. I mean, statistically, if you applied on your own, you have like a 35% chance of getting approved. People that do this work, like representatives, they're 47 to 52% chance of getting people approved. So you're going to go and the next step is reconsideration, which is a very low approval, like 11%. So, I mean, it's not uncommon that you have to go to a hearing.
Okay. Okay, from Mo, this is not a statement, this is a question. I have multiple sclerosis. My condition is not likely to get better. I still have to prove that I'm disabled.
So in some, there is some consideration to what you need to continue to prove. The key word is compliance. I want to help people understand. If your treatment regime is being followed, then you're compliant with what the Social Security regulations are. So let's take it to the extreme. Let's say that you're an amputee, right? I mean, you're not going to be able to go get treated and get better. You go to your primary maybe once a year. So in that situation, what's the compliance? Whatever it is, you need to adhere to it. The doctor says, okay, I want to see, primary care wants to see you once a month and your neurologist wants to see you 4 times a year, and then you're doing that. All right, you're compliant. as long as you're doing everything that they, have you do. And if you're taking meds, great. If you're not taking the meds that they provide you because you don't like them or they don't make you feel good, but you need to explain that away and have it in your medical records. Those are some key points on that.
What if you work during disability when you turn 62? Is that work counted for your Social Security retirement?
This question was asked last week and nobody knew the answer. I don't know. I mean, you work, you have taxes. I would expect it has some influence on it, but I just don't know. I have time for like 2 more questions, Jim. So for all of you out there, 393 of you, thank you for joining. We're going to take a couple more questions before we wrap up today.
Mhm. Okay. For more in any update on the probability of a CDR at 64 years old, my FRA is 66 and 8 months.
Right. There's been one individual that was in our YouTube chat that she was reviewed, I think at like 62 and then at 64. But the reality of it is, if they're looking for somebody to review with the objective of getting them off of benefits, the closer you are to full retirement, in my opinion, I don't have any data on this, just my opinion, the less likely you are to get reviewed. And if they did review and they knocked you off, then I don't know if your full retirement amount is still holding up, but you could just transition to that check.
Right.
All right,
I
this will
was
be the last one, Jim.
okay. I was working as a truck driver and a warehouse worker before the compartment syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Okay.
No follow-up question on that. Denied right at 5 months, California. I have attorney and Senator Feinstein. Is that Feinstein or Feinstein? Sent inquiry. Caseworker is on the case. My case flagged now with congressional inquiry. Think it will help or hurt?
Could help. The congressional, if you got denied at 5 months, the timing's good because they made a decision. And you're going to have to go through the reconsideration. So congressional, they can push it all they want, but they really don't influence the decision. They just get people to look at it. The odds are still the odds at reconsideration in California. So it means you're likely going to go to a hearing where we've seen benefit in using congressional influence is if somebody is like, certainly dire need, qualifies. Like we have somebody in the Austin, Texas area right now. This week we're working with that. And the case will get approved, but it's just been sitting there. Situation like that for sure. So again, we know all the information is in the file because we're working on it. We can see it. All the doctors support all the evidence and everything. It's just we got to get somebody to look at it. In those situations, good. Also, we've used this approach for people in California. Actually, this happened. We had somebody get approved, and Social Security had like $80,000 of back pay, and they had it for like over a year. Then we got the congressional influence, as I call it, involved, and it was resolved in a timely manner. So anyway, folks, we're going to wrap up here. But before we do, just a shout out to Jam for doing a fantastic job, as always, making this run smooth. And I thank all of you, 403 of you that have shown up today. We'll be back next week with a follow-up to what we talked about of what to prove. We're going to talk about what to actually say and do, how to communicate it, how to take your condition and put the right words and influence on it so that you can get approved and keep your benefits. So again, if you're new here or we haven't heard from you in a while, encourage you to, Jam will put a link to our website in the chat. Click the link, click the green button, come on in and join us or update your membership. That's the best way that we can help you, because once you complete the profile, let's say you're looking for CDR information, you just put it in the note, boom, we can help you. We know you're approved. We know you're looking for CDR information, or if you're not approved, you're applied and waiting, or you applied and denied. So that's the best way. Of course, there's no charge for the membership. And if you just want to hang out and look at all the 400 plus videos, we're definitely appreciate you giving us some love and doing that, but that's the best way we can help you. All right, everybody, make it a great day. Thanks again for turning up for our live event.
Yes, thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you, Brian, for having me.
You're welcome, Jam.